Hey everybody, how's it going out there? Welcome to Good Movies and Music. My name's AJ. Thanks for watching. So let me take you back for just a second, back to the summer of 1993, June specifically. I'm a little kid, I'm in elementary school, and one of my biggest passions is dinosaurs. Love dinosaurs, can't get enough. You know, at that point I'd built up quite the dinosaur collection. You know, those old-timey, I don't know if they were like a hard plastic or rubber, sort of anatomically correct dinosaur toys. They weren't even really action figures, you know, you couldn't really even play with them. They were just these stiff, hard plastic dinosaur toys, but I loved them. They looked awesome. I remember I even had a VHS copy of the cartoon Dino Riders. That's how much I loved dinosaurs back then. So it's June 1993, and I convinced my parents to take me to go see Jurassic Park in the movie theaters. Opening weekend, in fact, not even weekend, opening Friday. And the thing is, I grew up in a small town. It was too small to have its own movie theater. But there were two towns nearby that did have theaters. One was a slightly bigger but still smallish town, about a 5 to 10 minute drive away. Now, they had one movie theater in that town, but it was one of those old-fashioned theaters that was a performance theater before that, had a stage and only one screening room. So there was that option. But then there was also a city about 30 minutes away from us, and that was a big enough city that it had multiple movie theaters, including freshly built, modern 90s multi-screen cineplexes. They had the biggest screens, the best sound. That's where I wanted to go. And we probably could have gone to one of those theaters had we waited till like a Saturday or Sunday matinee. But this was Jurassic Park, and I wanted to see these dinosaurs ASAP. So I somehow convinced my parents to take me on a Friday night, even though they would work long, hard hours during the week. But the compromise was that we would have to go to the smaller theater that was 5 minutes away, the old-fashioned movie house. And I think because when they got out of work that day, we ended up even actually being late to the movie. I still remember walking in, and it was the scene where Hammond lands his helicopter at the dig site and meets Grant and Ellie for the first time. So for years, as far as I was concerned, that was the actual start of the movie. I imagine at the time I was probably a little annoyed about the fact that we were late, but as soon as I sat down and was looking at that big screen, I'm sure that just totally dissipated. Because the next thing I remember is just when Ellie and Grant are in Jurassic Park, they see the brachiosauruses for the first time, and just that look of awe, and just the way the camera just moves with them and allows them to just feel the whole experience, and you get to see it from their perspective before you even get to see the dinosaurs. So you already know, wow, if that's doing that to them, what are we about to see? And then when it cuts to the wide shot and you see that one brachiosaur walking for the first time, and the music, that iconic John Williams score, yeah, just that moment, the awe that those characters were feeling, that's the awe that I was feeling as just this elementary school age kid who grew up being super into dinosaurs, getting to see the closest thing to that point in my life to real dinosaurs being brought to life. Oh, it was, you know, chills. And then as the movie progresses, you know, when Tim and Lex are trapped in the car with the T-Rex trying to get at them, I don't think I breathed for like 10 minutes. And, you know, just scene after scene, it was so relentless, but in the best possible way. You know, the T-Rex is chasing Ellie and Malcolm in the Jeep, the Velociraptors in the kitchen. Oh, just so many great, instantly iconic scenes. And then it all culminates in that moment, the T-Rex just coming in and saving the day. And, you know, it lets out that glorious roar as the banner comes, you know, flying down beside it when dinosaurs ruled the earth. It's, looking back on it, it's so indulgent, but yet so perfect. It's one of the best endings of any movie ever. Yeah, that movie, I mean, I'd been to the movie theater before, but that was the first time that I fell in love with movies. That was the first time that I felt the magic of cinema, you know, the magic of going to the movies. And that brings me to why we're here today. I'm sure if you're watching movie reactions on YouTube that you also love movies as much as I do. And I'm sure you also have your own discovering the magic of cinema moment. And, you know, whether that was at a movie theater or if it was, you know, at a friend or family member's house, you know, renting a movie, whatever it was, I'm pretty sure we all have that moment. And I bet if you're about 20 years older than I am, there's a good chance that this movie that we're watching today was that magic of cinema moment for you. Today we're watching Jaws from 1975, directed by Steven Spielberg. Now I know you're thinking, wait, you just went on this whole spiel about how you're this lifelong movie fan and how you went to go watch A, a movie that was directed by Steven Spielberg, B, was based on a book, C, was a big summer blockbuster film, and D, most importantly, it's a movie about big monsters that eat people. How on earth have I not watched Jaws before? Yeah, I know, it's mind-blowing. I don't get it either. And yeah, I never really had a good answer for that, other than I just never made time for it. But I was actually thinking about that when I chose to react to this movie. And you know what? I think what it comes down to, essentially, is the premise. You know, I loved dinosaurs when I was a kid, so going to see Jurassic Park was a no-brainer. But I was never really that into sharks. I mean, they're cool, but they're no dinosaurs. And I think the other thing about the premise is, yeah, dinosaurs don't exist anymore, but in the world of that film, I know if there was a theme park for dinosaurs, yeah, we would have gone for sure. So yeah, in that world, that kind of thing could have happened to us. But when I look at the premise of Jaws, it's about a shark that eats people in the ocean. So if the only way the monster can get you is if you enter its world, then my answer to that is don't enter its world. Because I don't go swimming in the ocean, there's absolutely zero chance of me ever being eaten by a shark. And when I start to think about it that way, I actually have more of a chance of being abducted by aliens than ever being eaten by a shark. Reason being is that I don't swim in the ocean, so there's literally a zero possibility chance of me ever being eaten by a shark. But aliens might exist, and they might come down and abduct people, and I'm a person, so I have to factually say that there is a non-zero possibility of that happening. So yeah, I mean, I've been to aquariums, I've seen sharks in person, they do look pretty scary, but I'm never going to be in a situation where one could actually get to me. So yeah, sharks can be dangerous if you go in the water. But you know what's a potential threat to every beachgoer? And you don't even have to swim out to shark-infested waters for this to be the case? Flesh-eating bacteria. That happens. Look it up. So I think it was for that reason that the premise never really quite hooked me in. It just didn't seem relatable in that sense. Maybe this is all just thinking way too hard about a summer blockbuster popcorn flick, but that's the kind of thing you get in this channel. I like to overanalyze and overthink and just go on long tangents. It's what we do here. It's a feature, not a bug. But anyway, yeah, it is kind of wild that, you know, these are both Spielberg films based on novels that are about monsters that eat people. Yeah, it's more than past time that I watched this film. And I am excited to watch it. Don't let that rant fool you. I am actually really looking forward to this. You know, and I guess funny thing about that is that I feel like I'm in my 30s more open-minded now than I was as a kid. Like, I'm more open to the experience of watching this movie now than I was as a kid. I was like, give me my Jurassic Park and I'm fine. I don't need anything else. Yeah, it's funny just that idea that I'm getting more open-minded as I grow older. You know, sometimes it feels like the arc of my life has been that I was born an old soul, and my mission has been to rediscover and revitalize my youthful essence, you know, my childhood curiosity. That could be a whole nother tangent, and then we'd never get to the movie. So yeah, I'm really excited to watch this movie, and let's just go ahead and jump into it. Without further ado, this is going to be my reaction to Jaws from 1975, directed by Steven Spielberg. Let's go. There's that iconic score. And you know, this is maybe also part of the reason why I never watched this movie, is because it's such a big part of the culture that I just feel like by osmosis I've already had the experience. John Williams, what a legend. Jaws, Star Wars, Jurassic Park. Stare harder, buddy.
Slow down! Wait!
That was a pretty cool shot, that silhouette. At first I thought it was day for night, but you clearly see the sun setting in the background. This movie just escalates quick, doesn't it? How did he not hear that? Someone's screaming bloody murder for their life, like 50 feet away. I feel like I would hear that.
Mom, I got cut. I got hit by a vampire.
You guys were playing on those swings. What? Those swings are dangerous. Stay off there. I haven't fixed them yet.
Can I go swimming?
Yeah, but let me clean this thing off first.
That's what they usually do.
I just want to make sure you don't go past the...
You know, this is something that Spielberg does quite a bit. Having multiple conversations happening in one scene. Like multiple audible conversations. It's an interesting dynamic. It feels very real and true to life. You know, usually when you have people talking in a movie, it's for a reason. You're trying to give information. Sometimes outright exposition, sometimes just character moments. So you usually don't write dialogue unless you're trying to advance something. And because you're trying to advance something, you don't want to have that moment muddied up by having other talking going on at the same time. But credit to Spielberg for realizing that this is a more true-to-life way to portray this, and giving credit to the audience that they'll be able to follow along and they know what the important information is. That's one thing Spielberg, of all the Spielberg movies I've seen, that he excels at, just trusting the audience. Let the audience go along on their own journey. Don't just spell it out for them and hold their hand the whole way. Oof.
What have you got on?
Polly, if this new filing system is going to work, you've got to keep that outdated stuff off my desk. Just the pending, all right?
Yes, Chief. Now we got
Some sketchy ADR.
Take this stuff back to the office and get to work on those signs. Beach is closed. No swimming. By order of the Amity PD.
Listen, we had a shark attack at South Beach this morning, Mayor. Fatal. I gotta batten down the beach.
It's interesting they made this decision without the mayor.
Martin, you gonna shut down the beaches on your own authority?
Technically, you need a civic ordinance or a resolution by a board of select.
That's just going by the book.
Answers that question for me.
It's your first summer, you know.
What does that mean?
I'm only trying to say that Amity is a summer town. We need summer dollars.
We never had that kind of trouble in these waters.
I love that they decided to just stage this whole scene on a small ferry boat. You know, it does a good job of putting us in the mind state of this main character. He's sort of feeling discombobulated by being confronted by these guys without warning. And so we're on a boat and the background is spinning around while the characters are absolutely still. It's creating that same sense of discombobulation and confusion for us that main character is feeling by being challenged and confronted.
When do I get to become an islander?
Ellen, never. Never. You're not born here, you're not an islander. That's it.
Oh, they better not kill this dog. He's a little paranoid, but he has reason.
I know you got a lot of problems downtown, but I've got a couple of problems at the house I wish you could take care of. One, I've got some cats parking in front of the house.
Oh, that's a cool shot.
To the office. It's got to be. So what I need is a red zone.
Listen, if the kids go to the water, it's worrying me.
Yeah, just to talk a little bit more about what I was talking earlier, I just love how Spielberg just really understands using dialogue for things other than conveying factual information. He uses dialogue to create an atmosphere, to convey a mood, to get in the character's internal state of mind. Like, that guy was talking and he just was not paying attention at all. Like, the words were just, they might as well been a Charlie Brown wah 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 wah, because he's so focused on what's going on in the water. The dialogue helped convey that, because the same thing as the audience, we weren't paying attention either. You know, we were in the police chief's state of mind with that scene, and that was the intended effect. I'm guessing the shark arrived. Nice. I've seen that shot before, but it's stunning every time, and especially in context. I don't think he survived.
We don't even know that there's a shark around here.
Minor pet peeve. Put a comma in your thousands. Looks like Paul F. Tompkins. Dresses like Paul F. Tompkins, too.
Is that $3,000 bounty on the shark in cash or check? Chief Brody.
Brody, yes! Positive energy. Rest in peace, Brody Stevens.
And then we're going to try and use shark spotters on the beach.
Are you going to close the beaches?
Yes, we are.
Ooh, this feels familiar to 2020/21.
Only 24 hours.
24 hours, that's enough to get rid of the threat. We don't have to lock down for any longer than that.
I'll catch this bird for you, but it ain't gonna be easy. Bad fish.
I already like this dude.
This shark, swallow you whole. I value my neck a lot more than $3,000, Chief. I'll find him for
It's about a mouthful delivering this monologue.
for 10. I don't want no volunteers. I don't want no mates. There's too many captains on this island. For that, you get the head, the tail, The whole damn thing.
We'll take it under advisement.
Oh, God. You're scared.
He is so paranoid that he thinks a shark is gonna sneak up on him in his living room.
You know, Alan, people don't even know how old sharks are. I mean, if they live 2,000-3,000 years.
That is one pretty cool thing about sharks, is that they are sort of mysterious in that way. They're almost kind of mythic in that way. Although I was just reading about a 186-year-old tortoise, and those aren't very scary. They're just a little too casual to be mysterious.
Dad, just a little longer, please.
Martin, it's his birthday tomorrow.
I don't want him on the ocean.
He's not on the ocean. He is in a boat.
But I want him to read the boating regulations, the rules, you know, before he goes out on his own.
Michael! Did you hear your father? Out of the water now!
That's great.
Now!
So far, I'm really loving the way this movie portrays the stubbornness and indignant insistence. And this has all been laid bare in 2020. I mean, I'm sure we've all discussed this ad nauseum, but it's so true that so many of us think we have all the answers and just don't want to hear any differing opinion. That mother was so convinced that he was totally safe on that boat until she saw a picture, and then at that moment she was so convinced that she knew that it was no longer safe for him to be on that boat. You know, we just bring so much hubris to the way we express ourselves and live our lives, and when we do change our minds, we just become indignant and hubristic about the next thing. I just do my best to keep an open mind and to just understand that what I know right now might be wrong tomorrow, so let me not be too much of a jerk about how confident.
Please, help me get those guys out of the boat, will you please? Sure, with me.
The officer asked me to tell you that you're overloading that boat.
So far, I most relate to that guy.
You know those 8 guys in the fantail launch out there?
Yeah?
Well, none of them are going to get out of the harbor alive.
Watkins, female Caucasian.
Yeah, here's where we have it.
Probable boating accident. Partially denuded bone remaining. This was no boat accident. Did you notify the Coast Guard about this?
No.
The enormous amount of tissue loss prevents any detailed analysis. However, the attacking squalus must be considerably larger than any normal squalus found in these waters.
Christopher Squalus, the notoriously B.I.G. shark. Who's kicking it?
Please, I want to get a picture of the guy with the fish. Come on, guys, come on.
It's so funny to call a shark a fish. Like, I know they are fishes, but I think of a fish, I think of something small and non-threatening. Something that's on my plate for dinner.
And the chances that these bozos got the exact shark...
there's no other sharks like this in these waters.
It's 100 to 1. But the fact is that the bite radius on this animal is different than the wounds on the victim. Let's cut it open. Whatever it's eaten in the last 24 hours is bound to still be in there, and then we'll be sure.
Maybe the only way to confirm it, huh?
I'm glad that our main character, despite having his reservations and having his own agenda, is still open to reasoning.
I got red and white. I didn't know what you'd be serving.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I definitely relate to this character the most.
Which I wanted to prove today by cutting the shark open, but you want to let that breathe for nothing.
Just a pint of wine. That was nice and subtle. It's like just 2-finger pour. That's it.
He keeps swimming around in a place where the feeding is good until the food supply is gone, right?
It's called territoriality.
I wonder if that was the actor's decision or if that was direction. The way he was just anxiously fidgeting with the wine bottle, peeling off the foil. Just really subtly sells his anxiety and his, like, uneasiness.
What happened?
Jaws happened. Wait, is Jaws the actual name of the shark?
Why don't we just tow it all in?
I've always just assumed that. Oh, that gave me goosebumps. I did not expect that.
That apparently a great white shark has stake to claim in the waters off Amity Island. and he is going to continue to feed here as long as there is food in the water.
Look, we depend on the summer people here for our very lives.
You are not going to have a summer unless you deal with this problem.
We're not only going to have to close the beach, we're going to have to hire somebody to kill the shark. Larry, we have to close the beaches.
All this machine does is swim and eat and make little sharks, and that's all.
Little sharks? That sounds cute.
I'm pleased and happy to repeat the news that we have in fact caught and killed a large predator that supposedly injured some bathers.
Injured? Understatement of the year.
Chief, make it bad.
That looks like the real big boy. Ooh. Yep.
And a pen, Larry? Yeah, a pen, you know. You're gonna sign this voucher so I can hire a contractor. Gotta hire Quint to kill the shark. Larry, the summer is over. You're the mayor of Shark City. These people think you want the beaches open. I was acting in the town's best interest. My kids were on that beach too. Thanks.
Here's to swimming with bow-legged women.
Talking about shark.
We're talking about practice.
Well, I'm not talking about...
Not a game. Not a game. Not a game. Cool shot. Sells the impending doom that's about to befall them, I'm sure.
I can go slow ahead. Come on down and chum some of this shit.
There it is. That was oddly non-menacing. Like, hey guys, thanks for the chum.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
There's that line.
Now! Shoot! What's that one? What? That one there, on your arm.
Super, that's the USS Indianapolis.
What happened?
Japanese submarine slammed 2 torpedoes into our side, Chief. Didn't see the first shark for about half an hour. Tiger. You know the thing about a shark, he's got lifeless eyes. Black eyes, like a doll's eye. You know, by the end of that first dawn, lost 100 men.
Wow.
So 1,100 men went in the war. 316 men come out. The sharks took the rest June the 29th, 1945.
A damn fine monologue. I don't know if they end up calling this shark Jaws at some point in this movie, but if he doesn't get named in the movie, I vote on the name Barry. Because he's just carrying all those barrels around. He is in there like swimwear. Can't punch him in the nose? That doesn't work? That's what they say to do, right? You just punch him in the nose? You're just going deeper into that shark's territory. I know he's trying to get that spear, but not worth it at its price point. Shout out to Worth It. That shark's just like, alright, enough with the games. I've had enough. Does he die? I just assumed these 3 guys were all gonna survive. The crunch. Yeah, I don't think he survives this. Just chewing on that tank.
Smile, you son of a...
Nice. That's a pretty cool shot. Wow, that was some real respect for the shark. They let that shark have its death moment, you know? Hey, he's still alive.
Hey.
The barrels ended up being their saviors after all. Just...
I used to hate the water.
I can't imagine why.
I used to hate the water. I still do, but I used to too. Mitch Hedberg. Rest in peace. All right, here's what I loved about that movie, is that essentially it was just the story of a guy who was just trying to make the sensible, reasonable decision. And just along the way, he kept facing resistance from people who were acting irrationally, unreasonably, and rather selfishly. And they didn't seem to understand that they were acting that way. They had the hubris to think that they were right. And all along the way, the main character, Chief Brody, you know, he had the decency and sensibility to be like, I think I'm right, I might be wrong, let me find out, let me ask experts, let me consult. He kept his mind open. He had a general goal, which, you know, his goal was, let's keep people safe. So that was his goal. But the way he went about it, you know, he was flexible and he was open-minded about it. For instance, he wanted that tiger shark to be the shark so badly, but he listened to Hooper and, you know, found out that it wasn't. A weaker leader, a more closed-minded leader, would have just closed the books right there and said, we're done, and there would have been more deaths, a lot more. But yeah, you just think about it, you know, from the opening few minutes of the movie all the way down to the final act, Brody says at least a couple times we're going to need a bigger boat, and Quinn won't listen because he's got this 30 years of unresolved guilt and this shark revenge killing fantasy. And so he won't listen. He won't go back. He doesn't want to go get a bigger boat. He wants to do it now. Even to the point that he smashes up their intercom system to reach the Coast Guard. Like, just recklessly selfish. So yeah, I just found it really fascinating how the main theme of this movie was essentially, you know, let's just be sensible. Let's just examine what our agendas are and our motives are when we make these big decisions that have big implications. You know, look for bias in your own decision making. So many of these characters would have saved themselves either politically in the case of the mayor or literally his own life in the case of Quinn. You know, if these people would have just stopped to examine their biases and their motivations, why are they making the decisions that they're making? What is motivating them? If they would have stopped to ask themselves those questions, they might have saved themselves from themselves. Hubris is never a good look, and sometimes it's actually rather dangerous. And I'm wondering when the book was written, because I know the movie came out in 1975, but is the book from the same era? Because it's interesting for this to be a major theme of a big Hollywood blockbuster movie. Like, I'm wondering is this an allegory for something that was going on around that era? And I know there was a lot going on politically in the 70s. I mean, obviously the Vietnam War and Watergate. So yeah, I'm wondering if this movie was intentionally meant to be an allegory for what was going on in the 70s in some way, or was this just totally a coincidence and it was more about just these interpersonal interactions and not necessarily trying to say something bigger about society at the time. Other than that, I don't have much to say about the movie itself. I mean, Spielberg is obviously a master, and even though this was early in his filmography, you saw a lot of the touches that he came to be known for. I mean, he's just always had a knack for blocking, you know, the way that actors are framed within a scene and the way that they move within that scene and the way the camera moves around them. He's just always been a master of that sort of thing, is just having really intentional blocking that can say a lot about the character and the scene with just these real subtle camera movements, and sometimes not subtle, sometimes rather flashy camera movements. But yeah, he's just always been a master of blocking, and that was on display here as well. I will say the one thing that was jarring about this movie was how basically it's two different movies. The first 2/3, it was very much a community political drama. There was a lot of intrigue amongst the townspeople, the panic and how to prevent a panic, and do we let people in the water or not, and just all that going on in the community. That was very interesting. And then the last third of the movie, it just becomes this struggle between this trio and their competing philosophies and approaches and personalities. And at first I found that a little jarring. I found it a little off-putting, but the more I think about it, it makes sense. Everything that was happening on the town with the townspeople, I mean, that all got wrapped up. You know, they all served their purpose, and that story went as far as it needed to set up that last third. I mean, even the mayor, like, his arc was essentially complete. That's a guy who I think at this point realizes that he is not a great leader, and he's going to have a lot of, you know, self-reflection and examination to do. So they kind of leave him in this sort of traumatized state, and I think that's actually a really fitting place to leave a character like that. You know, it's kind of refreshing. You'd hope that more leaders nowadays would feel the weight of their own bad decisions, but that might be asking too much at this point. But yeah, credit to the movie for just leaving that guy right there and saying, okay, we're done with you. That's where we're going to leave you. And yeah, so it was a pretty bold decision to just become a different movie in the last third and just focus on those three characters and their relationships. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. That was a fun experience. But I gotta say, still prefer Jurassic Park. So I just want to say, if you liked this movie reaction, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to follow along with more of my videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications. That lets you know when I upload a new video. Signing out for today, my name is AJ. This has been Good Movies and Music. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.